Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dream Life Loading channel. I'm Skye.
I'm Susan. How are you, Skye?
I'm pretty good, Susan. It's been very nice weather here. I know we always seem to talk about the weather, but it is, unfortunately, it can really make or break your mood. And the weather has been sunny today, and all weekend it was nice. So I'm feeling good. How are you, Susan?
My dog has been violently ill for the last 7 days. But today she's on the mend, like after two trips to the ER, like she's good, which is we're really thankful that she's okay because yesterday was pretty scary. We were like, "Oh, I don't know what's gonna happen. But she's good. We got to sleep through the night last night, which was beautiful. Like I didn't realize how much I value my sleep. And we're today's just a new day. It's a really good start to the week, and I'm very happy to be here.
It's all on the up. I feel a change in the season, in the weather, in the mood. It's all on the up.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So today we're talking about manifesting, which we talk about all the time. Which I'm so surprised that we haven't done an episode on this. Like when we were talking about what we were going to do today, you were like, "We've never done an episode." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we haven't done an episode."
I
So
Part of the reason because it's been in my head in the past, and I was like, oh no, I was always hesitant to do an episode on manifestation because I don't want anyone to think that we're out here trying to be experts on this and telling people this is the way to do it or this is exactly the way to do it. And I think it's kind of with a disclaimer for every single topic we talk about is that we are not experts in any of this. This is just what works for us and sharing the advice that we have. And that's exactly the same with manifestation, but it comes down to the fact that like we've both used manifestation and it has worked. So I feel like that's enough for us to come on here and at least share our advice and what has worked for us.
absolutely. I remember the first time I heard about manifesting and it was 2020. I was actually working as a janitor and I had recently been like so defeated. I was in my own head. I was like miserable in college. I was literally a nighttime janitor at my old high school and I was like, what has my life come to? Like I'm miserable. I'm mopping floors. Like there's got to be something bigger than this. Like I can't do it anymore. And so I was in the library researching and I came across a YouTube video and I think I sent it to you. And I was like, I had never heard of this. And she just ran through the basics of what manifesting was. And I was like, okay, this is like last resort. I need to at least try it because something has to change in my life. And that was the first taste of it I got. And I was so excited just to hear about this new, I don't even know what to call it, skill, new thing to try that I was like, at this point, I have nothing left to lose. And then I tried it. And then it took years, literally 3 years. I'm still figuring out what really works for me. But there were different techniques that I tried, and some worked, some didn't. And then the stuff that stuck and actually worked, it was like, oh my gosh, like it works.
I remember similar, I mean, it's different, but similar situation is my first semester of junior year of college was like by far the hardest. It was our first semester back dealing with COVID and online classes, and it was just really, really tough. And I actually moved home for 3 months, and you started manifesting in 2020. So this was the very beginning of 2021 that you and I were talking. You were like, Skye, this works. Like, I'm manifesting money. Like, I'm seeing results here. And I was like, wow. And so you send me those YouTube videos. I remember they might actually be, I might have brought these to Italy. That's how important they were. These journals that I was like taking detailed notes on these videos you sent me, reading your notes, taking my own notes from it. I was like, okay, like I need a change. Like this has to work because it was kind of the same thing. It was like, if I'm going to go back to college in the spring, like I need something to change. And I manifested, and no joke, 2 weeks later, that manifestation came true. And it was like, after that, it was like, okay, this works. And I'm believing enough in it to just keep going.
Yep, absolutely. So I think let's get down to like what is manifesting because I knew that that was what I was most confused about learning about it. So my own definition of manifesting is identifying what you want and then asking for it.
Mhm.
Regardless of your higher power beliefs, you need to like be very very clear on what you want and then ask for it. I think a good term that we use is the universe because it kind of encompasses everything and anything underneath that umbrella. But you just ask the universe. So that's, I guess, what I will reference in this video is
Yep.
the universe and what you want. And then it's a matter of figuring out how you ask and why you're asking for it and what it like brings in.
Yep. I remember the first like prompt, I guess, that I used when manifesting was um I am like, and whatever you're asking for, like whatever you're hoping for is I am blank be and put, I guess you can do it either way, but put your emotions that you would feel as if you already were there into when you ask for it. So like I am happy and grateful that I blank got this thing I wanted, got this promotion, moved, whatever you're hoping for. And by putting those emotions into what you're asking, you're already starting to think about it. It's like, wow, like I am grateful when I have this. And it's like, no, I'm actually just going to be grateful now. And it's kind of what we try to do with dream life loading is act as if you're already there. And then the universe is going to see that you're ready for it. I think is kind of how we look at it, at least.
Absolutely. So I have like the different ways you can manifest, and I have visualizing, journal, lists, and affirmations. And you can like find any variety of these that work. Some people meditate. I have never really gotten into that, but I think that's just a personal preference. But like I think to start is visualizing. If you don't really know what you want, or if you don't know like a direction, you can ask for give me a direction. Like, what is my purpose? What do I want? And those are all valid questions. And I think once you figure out what you want, it's a lot easier to visualize like, okay, I want to be here. Like I think a perfect example of that is when we made your vision board for Italy. Cause like you didn't know what you were walking into. You didn't really know what to expect. And I was like, okay, so what do you want? Like, let's literally visualize this. So a fun way for us was making vision boards and using Pinterest to get photos that are pretty to look at, but
Mhm.
also helps you kind of categorize and like break it down and picture yourself there. And then once you have those like actual concrete images, then you can kind of integrate those into your mind and visualize in your head, like you in those places, you doing these things that you want.
Sometimes, if it is something that seems so far away and something that's so hard to imagine it actually coming true for you, the pictures can be so helpful because if you see someone else living exactly what you want, or at least a picture of what you want, it's like, this is attainable and all I have to do is get there. Like it, which obviously it's still going to take work, but if you physically see it, then in your mind, you're not thinking of this thing that you can't even, um, not
Fathom.
yeah, exactly. You have to be able to like materialize it in a way. Like this is a physical, even if it is like a not physical item that you're looking for, which I feel like with manifestation it usually isn't. But if you're able to like see that it's attainable, then you're one
Yeah.
step closer.
And I think I started manifesting with the lists. So I would, at the same time, every day, I'd put the same like meditation music on and I would list the same sentence over and over and over again of what I wanted. And I did this. There's different sets you can do. You can rewrite the thing 30 times for 7 days. And there's a whole bunch of different meanings. So like look up the meaning of whatever you want numerically before you start doing it. Cause there's different, like I said, different numbers mean different things. But that was the first like taste of it I got. And then from there, I was able to grow and establish like journaling
Yeah.
in the mindset of already having what I wanted and kind of really living that reality in my head.
Hmm.
And that's when I saw the most my manifestations coming true in quicker form,
Yep.
was when I was already feeling those things, which you already touched on. But I think just it's stepping stones. It's figuring out what works well for you.
Hmm. And in a way, it's wild when it does start to work. It's like, oh my God, this is magic. And I think, in a way, like whatever you believe, like it is kind of magic, but it's not going to be quick. Like this is something that, and I think this is kind of jumping ahead, but if you don't believe that you're capable of having it, it's never going to happen. Like it is never, ever, ever going to happen because if you don't believe in yourself, how can the universe believe in you? How can anyone around you that has to help you get there, like if you don't put out that confidence and belief in yourself, no one's going to give it to you in return. And with manifestation, that is could not be more true. So I think that is, before you even start trying to manifest, you need to have that self-love and that self-confidence and that belief in yourself that you can actually have it, and then the manifestation can come easier. But again, it takes time to figure out what works for you.
Absolutely. And you can go back to last week's episode because we talk on this, but it's like you have to trust that what you're getting is going to be in the right time because you're it's kind of like if you have a little kid and a little kid wants, let's say, a toy at the store. the only reason you're going to block your kid from getting something is because they're either not ready for it, or like there's circumstances that it's just not the right time. And that's the same thing for manifesting. Like you might want something right now, but you need to go through X, Y, and Z before you can really appreciate and honestly fulfill whatever that thing is that you want.
Absolutely. I had written down you have to trust in the universe. And if you don't believe in like whatever your trust, whatever you're putting your trust into, even if it's yourself, like you have to trust that your life is going to come in the order that it's supposed to, and things are going to happen to you in the way that they're supposed to. And you have to not be too attached. And I think this was something that I had to learn, is that if I was manifesting, I want this job by this exact date, and this is exactly what has to happen. And if that date comes and goes and it doesn't happen, it's not, oh, this is manifestation is fake, this doesn't work, like I have to give up. No, you have to kind of let go of the attachment of it happening exactly when you either want or think it's supposed to happen, and just let it flow. And I think that with manifestation too is kind of giving into the peacefulness of it, and just what's the word I'm looking for, just the go with the flow aspect of manifestation, and just the trust. It's trust, that's the word I'm looking for, is
Yeah.
just
And
trust that it's going to happen.
finding that trust takes a lot of time, because
Yes.
if you're like, all right, I want this, and then 3 days later you don't have it, it's really easy to be like, well, this doesn't work, and
Hmm.
let it go. It's the people who stick with it and trust the process, as cliche as it is, that are going to see the results from it. I think a
Hmm.
perfect example of this, which I mean, I'm going to announce it before we're actually there, but a perfect example of this is our house. So in January, Chris and I bought 3 bottles of champagne. We put 3 goals on them for 2023. The first one we did was buy or build our dream house. And then we proceeded to spend an entire afternoon outlining plans for our house. It was like we were arguing over rooms and whatever, and it was like fun. But we actually had like visualizations of what we wanted. And then we printed out these pictures of this house that we wanted, and we put them on our fridge, and we took everything else off the front of our fridge. So every time we went to the fridge, which we see multiple times a day, was our house. And I remember we had texted about this, but it was like the end of February, and I was like, it's almost March. I really thought that we would have like some progress on this house thing, and it just feels like we're not moving. And then I had another thing happen in my life, and I was just like, I need a change. I need to go on vacation. I need a different change of scenery. Like I was so like stir crazy in the space that I was in. Not even 2 days later, we were looking at a house, and then a week later, our offer was accepted and we bought a house. Like it was insane. It happened so fast, but it was in our face constantly. And that's something that we did together. It was something that we journaled about. And I actually have journal prompts from like maybe a week before. And it was like my dream life. And I had manifested. I had journaled about my dream morning, right? So I'm like, I got up, I did X, Y, and Z, which a lot of it was very similar to what I was already doing in our apartment. And then I'm explaining what I'm seeing. I'm explaining my kitchen sink and the island that's on and the windows and my deck and my 2 fireplaces and my exposed beams. And then not even probably 2 weeks later, we're looking at this house, and it's checks all of the boxes, like literally every single one. And I'm like, this is our house. Like it's just gonna work out. And we weren't house shopping. We knew we wanted a house, but it just the market right now, it didn't seem feasible. And then the next thing you know, like we're moving in next week. Like it's just crazy how it all works out. But you were the first one in all caps. You texted me when I told you this, and you're like, you manifested this shit.
You
Like,
did. You really did.
and
And
you
you've
could,
done it so many different points in your life that I just sit here and like I believe in manifestation completely, but I still, when it happens, I sit here and I'm like, it
yeah.
happened. Like it just it. And you said something, and I have to point it out. You were in that house, and you were like, it's just gonna work out. And that phrase has so much power. Like if you believe that, like you have the persistence to just keep going, like it's just going to work out, then it is. Like if you want something, if you have something that you want, just go ask for it to someone or to the universe, whatever works in your situation, and just make it happen. Like it's going to work out if you want it to. If you put the tools in and put the effort in, it is going to work out.
in that first week, so like we looked at the house on a Sunday, and then we had like been talking to the bank, like because we really wanted it, but we were like we just didn't seem like it was in our price range. And so we were a couple days into this. Chris and I had gotten into a couple like tiffs about it because it was a stressful event. I don't think either of us were mad at one another, but it was just stressful, and that's what happens.
And it was
Sometimes
also
you freak out.
unexpected. Like you were not
Very
like yes,
unexpected.
you wanted this so badly, but it wasn't like 5 months after house hunting, you were finally landing on one. It was like,
We got married 5 months prior, and then but and it was a big change, like, and we had a lot going on in our life anyways.
mhm.
I remember there was one night we were going to bed and we had been, like, arguing or whatever, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna call him tomorrow, and I'm just gonna tell him we don't want the house." And then I'm kinda, like, smirking because 'cause I'm like, "No, we're gonna get the house. I'm not gonna make that call tomorrow," but it shut us both
It
up
was
enough to
your
go to bed.
house. It was just
Yes.
so clear from the very first moment that it was like, this is Susan's house.
Yeah, and I trusted that, and I like, my mom usually has pretty good intuition about things, so I'd call her every day, I'd be like, "How good do you feel about it?" She'd be like, 70%, 80%, and, like, as we got closer and closer, she'd be like, "Alright, 98%," and then when he accepted our offer for exactly what we asked, she because my parents were like, "There no way, like, that might be a little much," and then it all worked out the way it was. My parents literally screamed on the phone.
Well, you know why, Susan? Because you asked. I feel like
Yep,
that,
we
and
did.
this goes off manifestation topic a little bit, but if you have the courage and the confidence to ask for what you want, n more than half the time it's gonna happen. Like if
Yeah,
and this happens with, let's say you want to raise at work or whatever it is, if you have the confidence to just say like, look, here's why I deserve this and this is what I want, people are going to respect that. People
yep,
respect confidence, and that's what happened with this. You went in, you were like, this is what we can afford, this is what we can offer you, and it was accepted.
yep.
People respect confidence, and if like it's all about self-confidence.
And there was a whole like, there's a whole backstory to that we can talk about for hours. But I was just like, I had this unwavering, like, "It's our house, it's gonna work out."
Yep.
And it sure did.
And of course, it was a stressful situation, and no one's sitting here saying, like, oh, Susan wanted a house and she turned around and just got one.
I
Like,
just got one, right?
this took a lot of work and a lot of stress. But I think the bottom line is that you were not stressed about whether or not you were going to get the house. It was just the logistics of getting there. And because you had trust in the fact that it was just going to work out. And that sense of calmness, I think, is what got you through this.
And this is also something this isn't like we woke up, March 5th and said, "We wanna buy a house." We've been looking at houses since 2020. Like, this has always been the goal
Mhm.
as a couple, like, probably one of our biggest couple goals that we've actually been able to, like, bring to fruition. We also like, there's other stuff that, we worked towards and made happen, but this was something that took teamwork, and I honestly think that us sitting down and having the common goal in January and spending the hours that we did designing that house,
It
like,
was like a full day. It was like a weekend day.
yeah,
You guys did the
it was
entire house.
yeah, and all of the things we wanted are in the house we got. Like, we can't even make that up. It just
It's kind of like, this is kind of a weird example, but I know with Alex Earl on TikTok, people are saying she blew up overnight. Like this girl like posted one video and she blew up overnight. And it was like, okay, that might be true in the sense that once it caught on, she gained a
Mhm.
following pretty quickly. But if you look back, and she even says it in interviews now, she'd been posting videos for years on TikTok that were getting no views. And she kept doing it because she loved it and because she trusted that it was going to happen when it was supposed to. And that's with your
Yep,
house. It was not an overnight success. It was looking at photos and saying it out loud and dreaming about it and planning for it for years. And then it kind of happened overnight. Same with Alex Earl. It was like once you got the momentum, then it started to catch on. But it was not no effort. Like you
right.
put in the manifestations every single day, physically and spiritually and written, all the different tools of manifestation you used for years leading up to
Yep,
this moment.
and having conversations, I think was the other, like, driving force in this that made it happen. I don't know if it necessarily had to do with the speed, but the accuracy of what we wanted was us having these conversations about it. We didn't just talk about it in January and then move on. Like, we I would I don't wanna say force, but we would kinda daydream out loud about, what we wanted
Yeah,
in our house.
absolutely. I think there is really something to be said for what you were just talking about with speaking it into existence and talking out loud. I for a very long time was very superstitious in the sense of I didn't want to say something out loud until it was true or until it was for certain going to happen. And you really helped me see manifestation, the side of speaking things into existence and saying it before it's happened because you know that it's going to happen. And that's something that I'll say something, and like if people don't agree with manifestation or don't believe, because if they're superstitious like I used to be, they're like, you can't say that, it hasn't happened yet, or you can't. And he's like, no, you can, because if you trust that it's going to happen, it is. So that's another huge
I
piece.
think
Like written manifestation is really easy to get into it, but the speaking is huge.
I think my last piece going off of what you just said is be selective with who you tell. If you like, I know I can come to you, like, be like, "I'm manifesting X, Y, and Z," and there's not gonna be any judgment.
Yep.
However, if I went to one of my, let's say, older friends that I'm no longer friends with now for obvious reasons, it would be because they would either diminish it or belittle it, and I don't want negative energy around it. So that's like with the house, you knew and our parents knew,
Yep.
and that was it, because I was like, I was very protective of the energy around it
Mhm.
around it. I didn't want people doubting it or questioning it. I was like, "I'm sure this is gonna happen, but I don't need to, like, question any of this." And I think that's definitely talking about it, but making sure you're conscious of, like, who you're sharing with.
And that's such a good point, because if you're sharing this with everyone and someone's like, you're not going to get a house, and then you're going to immediately doubt yourself. And to completely
Yeah,
circle back to the beginning, if you doubt yourself, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, believe in yourself, don't doubt yourself, and don't trust your deepest dreams with people that are going
right,
to belittle you.
right. There, do we wanna move to favorites?
Yes.
Okay. So my favorite from actually technically last week was the business meeting that Skye and I had on Friday. I came out of that meeting for the first time in months feeling like excited and unstoppable. And we honestly, like, in a way, flipped our business completely upside down within an hour. And it was like the change we needed, which was kind of awesome because we've been talking about change for the last couple of weeks. And it was like we finally put everything that we've been talking about together, and we're doing it. And I just that the way I felt in and after that meeting, which is definitely carried over into this week, is just like an unstoppable feeling, which I want to share with the community because like we are working on stuff behind the scenes right now that's really exciting.
Yeah, I completely agree. I won't even, I know we're short on time, so I won't even say anything about it, because I literally left that meeting sending voice messages to people saying, I feel the best I felt about this in months. Like the exact same thing you just said. So, yeah. Um, Kind of on the same page, I guess this is my mantra of the week, but it goes along with that, which is begin again. And this is a Taylor Swift song that I have always loved, but recently been extra obsessed with it, I think, with spring. And I've been making spring playlists, and I'm like, begin again, like fresh. And then she actually played that as the surprise song last night on tour. And I was like, that's a sign. So begin again, whatever that means to you. Obviously, that song is about like breaking up and starting with a new relationship, but I definitely relate to that song in like life changes, and you can relate to Taylor Swift songs in so many different ways. But yeah, just begin again, I think, is so huge for us in so many aspects of our personal and professional lives right now.
Yeah, I love that. My mantra was, I'm at the point in my life where I'm meeting friendships where they meet me. And this is actually from a text that I sent this week. And it's just one of those things that, like, I'm a people pleaser and I try to go above and beyond, and I often give too much of myself. And just being able to like identify, like, nope, I'm kind of a mirror right now. Like, I have so much going on in my life that I'm going to reflect what you're giving me. And that's not to say that I don't love you or that I'm mad at you, but this is where I am and this is what I can give. And that's the first time in my life that I've actually stood up and been like, no, like this is where I'm at, and I'm sorry if that's not enough for you, but this is all that I have to give.
It's huge. I love it. Yeah, that was in your blog too, I think, or at least it's coming up if that
The
blog
blog
hasn't.
that's coming, yes.
But yeah, could not agree more. I guess we're kind of going back and forth here. My favorite of the week is just spring fashion. I've had a lot of fun kind of slowly building a spring capsule wardrobe these past couple weeks, and just couldn't, it's all about change. It's all the whole theme here. But yeah, spring fashion, that's my favorite.
I love that. You guys know the drill. Like and subscribe and let us know if there's any topics that you want us to cover because we want to give you what you want to hear.
Thank you for watching.